the area of our lives where there is change happening or required, okay, where there's movement, things leaving and things coming in, is this card here. It's the moon card. And I do feel like the moon here is like, on some level, we don't know, or that we're attempting or perceiving to know by just looking with our physical eyes, just examining and analyzing things on the surface. And that actually a lot of the change that needs to happen at this time is not external and isn't, especially as for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere moving into winter, not it's not to do with external changes and like practical logistical material things, but the change is about the inner cycle, and those are the energies that you need to be feeling through, be sensitive to, and dealing with the subtleties of those inner changes in your life. So, you know, like I said at the beginning of the reading, all of this focus and like relearning, reprogramming around the guilt that is associated with rest, and really understanding, you know, those levels of healing that I was talking about, the parts of us where you're hitting deeper and deeper and deeper, and finding that whatever recovery is happening in life right now maybe isn't hitting some of the other levels of your being. This is what the moon energy is about. Like, this is where you're having to be a little bit more there's more finesse required to get to some of the more subtle, less visible aspects of healing, change, wisdom, recovery, and spiritual growth. And so the door that we actually have is a moment's joy. Sand through the hourglass, sand through the hourglass, yet time can stand still. A moment lasts forever in the bliss of the heart's will. And so the confirmation is a reflection of the discussion we had at the beginning of the reading. And it is talking, you know how I said that the energy of healing and recovery right now is the Hangman card, and that sleep alone won't do it, that we need peace, that we need play, and, you know, whatever combination of things that are about a rested state for you. But rest is not just sleep. And so there is this need as well, like, and we said this last week, joy and pleasure being part of how we regain our strength, and like literally prioritizing the things that feel good to you. And so, like, for me, I can already tell you that doing the zodiac readings later tonight does not feel good to me. It doesn't. It doesn't. And this is like even the moon energy. This is the changeability, to think about moon as changeable energy or changing cycles. It's also the changeability of like what feels good and what doesn't, what you do or don't have time or energy for. So, you know, when I said sometimes the healing that you need or the practice that you need is not the same practice from last week or last month or last year, and that what you're doing now might not be what you need next week. So it is this kind of like fluidity as well. And the idea that I was talking about, like waking up in the morning and planning or committing to XYZ thing, and then being partway through the day like, I don't know about that. You know, this kind of like needing to be gracious with ourselves about the waning, the ebb and flow of energy. A struggle. Because there is that once you've said it, you have to follow through kind of vibe. So while I move into the next position, let me know in the comments the internal energies and experiences that you think relate to like where you need to focus on change at the moment. So how do we close the cycle out? Close the cycle out on the things that are preventing us from resting, preventing us from having joy, preventing us from paying attention to ourselves in like a very sensitive and subtle way. We have the Warrior of Blades, the Journey, and the Hermit. And the energy of these cards, like the first message that I got, and I think it's more than this, but the first message that I did get is that we have to kind of be willing to go it alone, which is interesting because I did say this is stuff that we can't really unlearn by ourselves. But there is almost looking for my crystal. Sorry, I'm looking for the selenite. We have to be willing to take the countercultural or the path of resistance, you know, like the book, the therapy book, The Road Less Traveled. Like, we have to be able to take a path that not everybody is walking, right? The hermit. We have to be ready to go in a different direction. We've got Journey is literally the name of this card, and then we've got Warrior of Blades. We've got to be willing to fight for our freedom and to go against the natural current of what the culture is doing right now. That is how we close and lock that door. And the doorway that we actually got for that card was this beautiful door, and it says, trust the universe. Intuition has wandered and led you astray. The timing's not yours, but the universe at play. Have faith and believe. And I feel like this idea that intuition has wandered and led you astray, it's like this going in the opposite direction. Do you know what I mean? Like losing grip, losing connection with our intuition, losing connection with the moon cycle. And I mean the internal moon cycle, internal rhythm, but also losing our connection with nature, losing our respect for the rhythm of nature and the rhythm of time, really going astray and therefore being lost. Like that energy, that card there is talking about us getting back on path. The timing is not yours, right? Like we can't and we should not be being subdued to and enslaved by time. Like time should not be our taskmaster. Ooh, I just feel like every week we're going to keep being hit over the head with this message. It does feel blunt. It feels brutal to me. So the right position here in this reading is about what's immediately on the other side of this door. Like, what does it look like? I kind of know, I'll use vice versa tarot because that's the one that I want. What does it look like for us to have moved through the cycle and arrived in this new energy where we are prioritizing and living in a different way, where rest is not a wrestle? And we do have the victory card here, which is the 6 of Blades, but I want to pull a little bit more because victory is kind of a vague energy or a vague message. So what does it mean for us to be victorious in our focus and our desire to live in a different way? Okay, we have the Justice card. Rianne, you'll love that. Justice, Libra scales here. Although, interestingly, Justice is given to Virgo in this deck. We have Justice, we have the World. And we have the Queen of Cups. I love that because I feel like the true victory is putting our world in balance, having measure, but also being in an internal, spiritual and emotional balance, Queen of Cups energy. And bringing something to some sort of completion, or it feels like the final level of a game, some wisdom, clearing the level, getting to the next part in terms of experience. So this is the commitment, this is the focus, and this is what's immediately on the other side for us. Remember last week I talked about how do you have a full cup? This is what it's about, having more than enough rather than constantly resisting rest from the fear of scarcity. So what happens if we're attempting to make changes in our lives, we're attempting to like move forward and integrate these lessons, and then we don't really end up at the victory stage, we end up kind of somewhere else? And we have here the Ace of Shields and the Ace of Blades, okay? 2 new beginnings, and I love this. I do love that we have 2 new beginnings here because it is talking about, yes, okay, we are starting something over, we are attempting to do something new. Maybe we didn't get it right, like me. Maybe you're making efforts and you're making changes in your life, but there are some habits that die hard, or some patterns that you're still stuck in that are difficult to break. And the message here is the Sacred Lotus, and it says compassion in action, the chosen tool. I see now the lotus in your spirit's jewel. I love the idea of compassion here because it is saying, okay, it is work that we're doing to create something new. It is labor that we're doing to have a new foundation in practice and in thought. And we have to be compassionate with ourselves about the mishaps and the setbacks and the ways that sometimes we don't hit the target, or we do overexert ourselves, or we overpromise, whatever it is, however you feel like you are failing yourself in terms of actually living from a place of rest and joy and peace and ease, compassion, because there's so much moving against you and so much to deprogram. Alice says, I hear that it's taking the time in the change of season and crazy times, tuning out of the matrix and spending time with self, exercise and such. Absolutely. So if we're struggling to make certain changes in our lives right now as it pertains to this particular kind of message, we have the corn maiden, which is, you know, equivalent of the high priestess energy here. So really trusting that our intuition is prompting us. It is saying to us, this is critical, this is important, this is the focus. You know how I said that it isn't really an external focus in your life in this season. And it's like, this is the thing to birth, this is the thing to change, this is the thing to master, because it's the foundation of everything else. And the door that you have is palmistry. And it says fortune and tarot, collective destiny. The palm lies from birth. Tell your sacred palmistry. Listen to the notes of intuition. So we have two intuitive pathways here. And it's like using, you know, the gifts like we are here, using tarot, using our divination skills, using our intuition to remind and stay in touch with those messages. So for some of you, you might need to pull a card on a daily basis to keep you in check, to give you that regular reminder of what your focus and your anchor is, so that you don't end up like moving through the week and just like getting chewed up by the system basically, and adopting the energies that are swimming around you. So it's really connecting and tapping into that moon energy so that you keep like an umbilical cord, so you keep being connected to mother source, so you keep the thing that should be like feeding your new belief system, so you're never far from it or so disconnected from it that you lose it. And if you're in a space right now where you just are feeling unable to change, maybe you feel like that sounds great, but I've got loads of children and I don't have any help, or my career is really demanding, and you may have like loads of reasons why you feel like rest, peace, all sounds good, but when it comes to the way I'm experiencing my life, it's not an option for me. Okay, so if we're struggling to make these lifestyle changes, then here is the message. We have the indolence card. And the indolence is talking about kind of giving up and just feeling like, you know what, it is what it is, and the system is what it is, and it's done what it's done to me. It's brutalized me in the ways that it has, and there's nothing else I can really do but just deal with it. Like, it is very much, it is what it is energy. But remember, we had the world card coming up in terms of like what the victory looks like. And we have it here, but it's with the Tower card. And the message is, listen, you can choose to make these changes, or they will be made to and for you. The Tower energy will bring through the world. It will bring through the lesson regardless, okay? So that lesson can come in the form of losing a job, and I'm not trying to scaremonger here. It can be health issues. It can be dramatic, painful changes that force you to look at your life and force you to make changes. If you're in a state right now where you're just like, well, there's nothing I can do, it will show you, okay, what if we reshuffle the deck? What can you do now? So it's like, either way, this is something we all have to process. It's something we all have to go through. And I feel like, you know, like at the moment, there's a lot of like labor shortages, you know, because of the global pandemic. One, because loads of people died, so they're not available to be in the workforce, but also there were wake-up calls for folk who were like, the way that I was living doesn't make sense. I'm not returning to that job. You know, just like all of this kind of like life change energy, which is what we're being encouraged to do, make changes in our own favor, you know. And it's like, okay, I'm not willing to work for this minimal salary in a job that is distressing and depressing me. And then it's like, okay, we're used to not paying anyone anything for their labor. Now nobody wants to work in this job. What do we do? It's that kind of energy. It's the sense that not only are we focused on internal change, but literally the culture outside of us, and this like very slow, it feels like a slow grinding machine that is like aching and moaning. This like slow kind of Saturnian drag of change in our culture is also saying, let's wake up to the fact that this is not working for us. It's not working for our planet. We've got climate change happening in really disastrous ways. You know, there's been so many natural disasters. I was in an earthquake. I should say I experienced an earthquake this year. There is just the need to wake up to, and it's saying that either you work on this compassionately now, or you do it the hard way. And so the message was, the door was birthed. Another gateway appears in view. New life is unfolding with blessings to you. So it's like, listen, this is a birth portal with the world card. This is a change that is coming. You know, like when labor starts, it's like, okay, the baby is coming. You know, you may feel like, I don't want to push, I don't want to do it. The baby is coming, the labor has started. And so we are in like the labor pains in culture and society at this time. And so the message is push or be in danger of a very dangerous rebirthing of yourself. Yeah. We are going to try the trigger tree or trauma tree, whatever it is that we're calling it. It's the first time we'll be doing this spread. And so, yes, I'm going to do 3 different trees, I think. Am I doing too much? Should I just do 1? I feel like it should be 3. Like this is a pick a card message. So that we've got 3 different trauma trees. Okay, what's the situation or scenario? Woof. I was like, I should not pick a card. Why have I shown you the cards? But when I saw the 10 of Swords and the Ace of Swords, I was like, yeah. It's a kind of pick a card where it's like, you know, pick your poison. I guess when you see the energy of it, you'll know if it's you. And tree 3, what is the situation and scenario? Okay, I like this message. I like this reading already. Okay, so let me tell you the different trauma scenarios or situations, and then you can see which one kind of like you identify with or resonate with, and then I'll go through the messages. So scenario number 1, we have the 4 of Pentacles and the Page of Wands. So there is something in terms of the trauma experience here, which has to do with like attachment and struggles to be able to move forward from things. This can be that you're struggling to just let go, either let go of the past or let go of things that are currently in your life right now, that you know that you should be able to or want to be able to explore new things or move in like new directions, but you're just like, you feel tied to something, either in thought or memory or situation that is feeling quite like a traumatic experience for you. The second one is the 10 of Swords and the Ace of Swords. So some of you are stuck in the physical and mental experience of your pain. So the trauma can be coming through as like rumination, thinking a lot about what's happened to you, nightmares, sleepless nights, intrusive thoughts. Okay, so this is like, this can be a lot of fearful energy. So see this as pain in the body connected to the mind as your primary trauma experience in this trauma tree. And then the third position, and some of you might feel like you're in all 3 or you're in 1 or 2. So don't worry about that. You may have complex trauma that relates to lots of different things. The third trauma tree is the Ace of Wands, which is about the new, the creation of the new. And you may feel that you're feeling quite traumatized right now by literally the new beginnings in your life, right? The things that are growing. See it like spring energy, and see it like you've lived in a winter in your life a lot, and that this spring that is present is traumatizing. So it could be like, for those of you who are, you know, it could be like you're making good money and you feel really traumatized by even the safety of that. Or you could be in a new relationship and experiencing love, and that can feel really traumatic because of the lack. Whoa, I can really, my chest for this script, my chest is like, yo, the container of the new good thing is terrifying. That's the energy that I get there. So have a think, see if you are in one group or all of them, or two, and we'll talk about it. Okay, so those are trauma situations. So I want to start with group 1.